look for ways to try to ease our minds, forced into a change. I guess it had to be this way. But do your best to try to stay away. The day they closed the world, we all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realized what it means to try. So hold on to the love, don't you be afraid. There come a time when you will have your say. And don't forget to pray the Lord to keep us safe. We will live to fight another day. The day they closed the world, we all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realized what it means to try. I can feel it coming, I can see it miles away. I can feel the sun of brighter days. I can hear the laughter, I can see your smiling face. I can feel the love that's on the way. The day they closed the world, we all went inside, looking for the light. The day they closed the world, we all realize what it means to try. The day they closed the world, we all went outside, looking for the light. I can feel it coming, I can see it miles away. I can feel the sun of brighter days. I can hear the laughter, I can see your smiling face. I can feel the love that's on the way. I can feel it coming, I can feel it coming. I can feel it coming, I can feel it coming. The day they close the world.
And good afternoon, good Friday afternoon. I am Debbie G. You are watching Spirituality Gone Wild, and we were having some technical difficulties back on Monday. So TJ and I decided to do this special, normally seen on a Monday show on a Friday afternoon. Yes, all right, on a Friday afternoon. And you guys were enjoying the beautiful music of Love Planet. And this is gorgeous TJ Woodward from Conscious Recovery. And we are here to discover some power.
Thank you so much, Debbie. We are here to talk about discovering the power within you. And we are living in a time where there's a lot going on in the world. So I feel like this conversation is vitally important of how we shift our focus from what's happening in the world to what's happening within. And then we get to be in the world in a really different way.
Absolutely. And I love that we're bringing this up. Has anybody ever felt like you've lost your power? Let's talk about what it looks like in our world when we begin to lose our power. Because a lot of people may not realize what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I think even the conversation of power, a lot of us have been trained to think of power maybe as force, right? Like making things happen. But true power, that essential power, is really something that's so incredible and so creative. I'm in the midst of writing my third book right now, Conscious Creation, and it really is about what we need to release, how we can overcome some of the core beliefs we have about ourselves, and then tap into that essential power, which we could also call our God essence, our eternal beingness. There's so many different words for it, but also that's where intuition lives. And it's really easy right now to get distracted. The media is just bombarding us with a lot of fear, a lot of division. I see a lot on social media. You know, Debbie, you and I did a whole show on cancel culture and everything that's happening. And we're not saying we're going to ignore what's happening in the world, but we're going to tap into our divine nature so that we can really be more useful in the world and also have a greater degree of happiness. And your favorite topic, gratitude.
I absolutely agree with you. So in this world right now, the biggest thing is to stop and really appreciate right where you stand, right where you are right now. You know, a lot of times, my son and I were talking about this earlier because it comes to a point when you have to do what's best for you. And sometimes being in your own power means making decisions that don't always sit well with everybody, but yet you're making them based upon something that you just have to do. That isn't any, you just have to make a decision. And part of being in your power is that resolve that you're doing what's right in your life. It doesn't have to be what's right in everybody else's life, but it definitely has to be what's right in our life. And if we don't step into that, if what happens in my life, if I don't step into that power, if I just lived my life doing what other people would love me to do and living their dream of what I should be or what the life should be, then I would be right back in my codependent days and right back into some abusive relationships and all of that. And I've done a lot of work not to do that. So by taking my power back for me has meant um, really being truthful about what I want, what I don't want, and taking action on those things. And hey TJ, did you know that that can change like every day too?
What's that?
That can change every day. It's like one day you want
That's
something,
right.
the next day you want another, and that's okay too. That's okay too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and when we tap into the deeper awareness of who we truly are, which is beyond our personality, right? Because if it's true that we come into this world as these essential beings, our divine nature, our Buddha nature, our God self, if it's true that we come in this way and then we're bombarded by programs, whether that's our family systems, our schools, and all the different ways that we get taught about planet Earth, and we therefore develop our point of view. And I am literally seeing the world through my lens, and we're all seeing the world through our own unique and individual lenses. So if we can create space in our life to tap down into that essential beingness, that true nature, that is where we can become really different, because we're living beyond the programs. In other words, we're living beyond all the limitations that we've been taught about ourselves and the world, and we're stepping into this point of power where there's infinite possibility rather than staying stuck or staying small. My good friend Michael Beckwith says, when we break the agreements with mediocrity, when we become intimate with our true nature. And I love that, because I had a lot of agreements. The world is not safe. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I walked around with that vibration and I kept replicating that in my life. So true power is unplugging from the conditions of the world. That doesn't mean we ignore it. That doesn't mean we pretend that it's not happening. But if I can unplug from that and plug into that deeper source, then I can really live my life on purpose and go back out into the world and not be of it, as a great teacher once said.
Oh, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. I loved that
Thank
so
you.
very much. who's resonating with this right now? Whatever, whoever's watching this, and aloha to you too, Valentina. Let me know how you're vibing with this. Taking back our personal power and what that looks like for you. That is our topic of the day. And that is a beautiful quote. I love Michael Beckwith. Oh, I'm so excited, TJ.
Yes.
I'm gonna get. I'm gonna be able to go to Agape again.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. You're going to be down there. Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm so excited about that. Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know if Agape is. Are they open right now?
No, Reverend Michael is on the stage doing Sundays, but not with anybody in there yet. I think that's just when California lifts that restriction. Hopefully, they'll get back to that.
I love that. And if anybody's curious, you can see Agape online on Facebook. You can just watch it. It's fabulous. It's a Sunday morning deal. There's 3 different times it shows. And no, I'm not kidding. I just love Agape. We're not being asked to do that. As a matter of
Yes.
fact, TJ, you have the Agape Center in San Francisco.
Yeah, in Oakland. Yeah, I had the honor. I started an independent New Thought Center in 2012 in San Francisco, and we ended up moving over to the East Bay to Oakland. And then Michael Beckwith invited us to be the very first satellite of the Agape International Spiritual Center. And then as soon as, of course, we got it up and running, then I resigned as the senior minister. But I do love that community. I'm still involved. I speak there one Sunday a month. But conscious recovery was pulling me, and I have learned to live my life based on vision. And that really is our topic, because I was bouncing around. When the mind was in charge, I would really be bounced around, and I was like a dog chasing a bone. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that shiny object. Look at that. And now I dedicate myself to listening to that, what we once called a still small voice, which I no longer call still or small, but that internal GPS or that guidance system. And when we tap into that, greater things happen than we could imagine in our mind. And that was my experience. We became part of Agape a couple of years, and then that inner voice was saying, spend more energy and time on conscious recovery. So a couple of years ago, I guess now I resigned from that position, and still love that community and still a member.
I think that is super duper fabulous. I was going to share this out a little bit more. You guys, technical stuff. I'm going to promise you. I think I must be rusty for a second. I think that's super exciting. I'm going with your gut, following your internal GPS system, trusting your vision, trusting. I'm going to give you guys some trust right now. So TJ, a couple weeks ago, I finally decided to pull the trigger and buy a new car. I have been putting this off, and I was so blessed to have, Scott here, and he, I was using his car when we needed to go to the store, but I was able to put off, pulling that trigger again, because that means payments and all of that. So I just finally decided, okay, fine. I kept feeling like it was time, but my brain was like wanting to argue all this. And I'm like feeling it in my gut. It's like, you really need to do this, Debbie. So lo and behold, all I have to say to everybody is, when you follow your gut, what happens, the easiest peasiest thing on the planet. Oh my God, TJ, like I found a car, I talked to them, we ran everything, we got the loan straight, everything was good. And it was literally come down and pick up the car.
Yes.
That simple. Oh. And I was like, really? Like that? Huh? I mean, I'm still kind of pinching myself. So anyway, Christopher and I, my son, so excited. We're like, well, we've got the car, and I haven't seen my other son and my granddaughter in 7 months. And with COVID and with everything else happening and all of that, I hadn't seen Gemma. And so I told Christopher, well, maybe we should go see them. So we cruise down there, and I get to see Justin, my oldest one, but I don't get to see Gemma because her mom was sick and afraid it was COVID. So while we're there, first off, let me tell you, my son would come, seeing my son, you guys, just being able to hug him. And I can't even describe to you, like, it was an incredible thing. Just the fact, the gratitude I have right now, because I was able to drive there. It was super easy peasy. And I got to see my baby. And that was a big deal. And his birthday was the 14th. And so, like, this was huge, right? Well, it gets even better. Are you ready for this? So then Christopher and I start talking because we've been living here at Scott's and we loved it here, but we're like, we miss my granddaughter. There's just, and I'm like, well, source internal guidance system. This is all about what TJ is
Mm.
talking about right now. This just happened. So I say, okay, well, Christopher, I don't know. I guess we could look for, see what's for rent. Well, room prices are dropped because of it's COVID
Right.
in Huntington Beach. And I said, well, if it's meant to be, then it'll just happen. Boom, 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 just like the car. Literally, literally, just like the car. And I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. You know, we've loved living up north, but I was just like, wow, it's like unbelievable. There is an
Yeah.
origin to this.
Yeah, exactly.
When the stars are lined up, all of a sudden you're just like poof, everything just
Well,
sort of happens.
yeah, and I appreciate you said when the stars are lined up, because it actually is even more important when the internal guidance system is honored, right? And my husband Will and I had the same experience. We recognized that it was time to move. Long story that I won't get into, but before we make any big decisions, the way we planned our wedding, any big decision, we go into visioning. So we did a visioning, and this was, I think at 11 a.m., we went into meditation, spent a lot of time in the silence, and to the best of our ability, let go of any preconceived ideas. And then we asked the powerful questions that is the visioning process. What's the highest vision for our new home together? How must we grow in order to embrace this vision? What do we need to release? And then you look to see what images come up, and we received these powerful images, and we ended up writing down exactly what we wanted in our new place, including this is the top price. And, we're in San Francisco, so the top price is, so we were like down here. No, we're not going to go to San Francisco pricing. We're going to know that we can find something amazing. And within 3 hours, we had that apartment. We're in it now. It's incredible. 2-bedroom, 2-bath, in San Francisco, a loft. We went for it, but it wasn't created out of our mind, right? Because we had these other places we were looking at. And basically, we have learned to trust the visioning process and really trust that internal guidance system. And it makes life really easy. Now, imagine, because sometimes when we talk about this, someone watching might be like, well, that's great. And even sometimes think, well, that might be a little selfish of you because you're only thinking of yourself. But this is what I want to say. Imagine a world where each of us spent time in the silence listening to the inner voice. What would happen with the division we're seeing, the finger pointing, the brutality that we're seeing, and the response to that brutality? What would happen if we each, more and more of us stepped into our power? And again, we're not talking about force. That's been the issue with the world for all these years, that really dominant push, push, push. That's what's created war. So we're looking at listening to the inner voice, and we end up finding ways to not only make our own life easier and more prosperous, but also the entire planet. I can become a much more beneficial presence on the planet when I'm not stuck in my struggle and strife. I remember one time I posted something, and basically it said, what if life didn't need to be a struggle? And a friend of mine pushed back. Life is a struggle. Life is difficult. This is planet Earth. And so I think sometimes people hear me saying life doesn't need to be a struggle, and what they think I'm saying is there's never going to be another issue in your life. That's not it. But do I have to struggle even against something that seems really big, right? Like, the media is like, we are at war with COVID-19. We are at war with racism. We are at war with brutality. And what does that war create? I understand the reactive impulse, believe me. But the question is, does it really move us where we truly want to go?
That's a great question right there. So, no, my life, no. Anybody else? Resistance? If you go against the resistance, you just literally aren't going to go far. You're just going to kind of stay back. But it's our, I think it's that idea that you can actually make up your own mind. and you can choose and you can make decisions. But see, there's a big thing there. A lot of people say, but I've been wanting this and I've been wanting this and it's not happening.
Mm.
And it's like, that's because you're wanting, number one. Number two,
Right.
because you're attached to what it needs to look at. Like disappointment
Yeah.
is, disappointment is simply because expectations that you put on something or someone have been broken. They're
Right.
not, and they're nobody else's responsibility but my own. But when we look at life and we think about our opportunities and when we don't listen to our internal guidance system, we
Mm.
get to go through some of these tougher points. But what happened when you trusted the universe right now? You guys are in your new house now.
We're in our new house. It's incredible. It was so easy. I also look back at planning our wedding. We did like 5 visionings once a month for the time leading up to it. I hear people talk about how difficult planning a wedding is. I promise you, there was not one moment that was difficult. It was incredible. We were open. We trusted. The exact right people showed up. It was incredible. And the reason I'm saying this isn't because, oh, isn't that so great that I can do this, but because I struggled so much for so many years. I believed life needed to be a struggle, that the world wasn't safe, and that I had to push. And I realized at one point that the only true surrender is surrendering to that true power, returning to that place of infinite beingness, right? What if life doesn't have to be a struggle? What if life doesn't have to be difficult? What might that create in your life?
Imagine that. What if? So let's go over this visioning process a little bit with people because I
Yeah.
love visioning. And so if you're new here or you haven't heard of visioning before, let's talk about how we've created our realities, because that's what we're doing here. We're creating the reality that we prefer and love, not the one that and so for me, it's really about getting into my imagination and playing the what if game.
Yeah. So one thing I want to start with is by offering the differentiation between visualization and visioning. Because, we've been really aware, most of us, for many, many years now about the law of attraction. The Secret came out. There was a big focus on what do we attract into our life. And visualization was an important part of that. For those of us who made vision boards, you take your poster board and you put everything you want to create, and then you manifest it, right? You manifest it by holding the vision of that. That is not what we're talking about. We are talking about a much deeper process. And that process is actually, in many ways, quite the opposite of that. To the best of my ability, I let go of what I think I want to create. I let go of the ideas that I believe I want, the things in my life I want, while also holding a deep level of trust that as I tap into my infinite beingness, as I tap into my essential self and that internal guidance system, something much greater than what I can imagine in my mind would get created. So the visioning process I use is actually Michael Beckwith's visioning process, and it's profoundly simple, really. It's that you dedicate time in the silence, and you can do this individually, you can do it as a couple, you can do it with a group of friends, you can do it with an organization. And you simply reside in the silence and ask a series of questions. And the questions are not intended to be answered, but to be sat with, to notice what emerges. It might be a picture, an image, it might be a smell. If you're doing it a group, what's interesting is a lot of times people will get similar visions. And so the questions are profoundly simple. And again, I use Michael Beckwith's because I love the framework he's created. The first question is, what is the highest vision for my life? Or if you're doing it about something specific, what is the highest vision for my relationship? What is the highest vision for my physical health? What is the highest vision for my home life? And you sit and listen to the internal knowing and notice what emerges. Return to the silence. The second question is, how must I grow, or what must I embrace in order to step into the vision? Third question, what must I release or let go of or live beyond in order to step into the vision? Then the next question that I like to use is, what are my unique skills and talents that make me already prepared to step into it? So what are my unique skills and talents? And then finally, you look for that internal yes. I have this yes to this vision. Now, here's the key. A lot of times people want to jump right into action. Like in my case with our apartment, it just manifested instantly. But sometimes it's really about just sitting in the questions, sitting in the curiosity. So it's not about at the end of the vision, create an action plan, but just be curious about the images, the visions that you received. And then, as Debbie said, trust in the universe, and realize that we don't have to make anything happen. So we're no longer looking at the law of attraction, but the law of radiance. Let me embody the energy of that which I want to create, be that in the world, and just be aware of where you're guided, both internally and externally. And then life becomes profoundly easier, simpler, and of course, more on purpose. You know, I have now stepped into the life that I always desired, but it wasn't happening when I was trying to make it happen. So when I opened up to vision, my life became so much more on purpose and so much more fulfilling.
Wow. That is just amazing. Oh,
It is amazing.
oh my God. Well, it is, because I'm living it too. And, you know, I can't even get over right now how important this visioning process is.
Yeah.
And that was so beautiful. I love the way that you just described all of that. I mean, that's seriously yummy stuff. You guys, whoever hears that and sees it, please just absolutely try some of these tools. Oh, look it. I love this. Joe Adlick, I love you. His show is tomorrow morning, everybody, at 8 o'clock. Great distinction between visioning and visualization. Very subtle yet profound. Thank you, Joe. I love
Yes.
you. And these truths are truly the foundation of our discovery of the possibilities in life. Great conversation. I'm loving that. Thank you. I'm guessing that might be Joe, because Joe is also a host on Spirituality Gone Wild. You guys, you got
Wonderful.
to see it. Oh, he's fabulous. TJ, it's called The Unconditional Life.
Mm.
Isn't that
Well,
super?
yeah, and I love that. We think it was him that wrote that we move into a life of possibilities instead of restriction, right? And
Oh, yeah.
so I spent a lot of time trying to reprogram my mind. I went to workshops where it's like, write your new story. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because for me it was really important part of the process to recognize my thinking was creating my limitations, right? So I spent many years trying to rewrite the story. I went to the workshops and I would, speak into the universe what I wanted to create. And all of that was really powerful. And then, as Joe said, it's subtle, but it's profound when I could then say, whoa, what if I didn't need to change the story? What if I could live beyond it? What if I could recognize that something greater resides within me? And when I tap into that, not only do all those things that I want, and so here's the thing too about human nature, and Debbie already mentioned this, suffering, in my estimation, one way we suffer, let's put it that way, is by thinking it needs to look a certain way. So I might get a vision. For example, I got a vision in 2004 or 5 to become a spiritual teacher. And then I was part of this wonderful community in San Francisco for many, many years. And I became the ministerial associate there. And my mind decided that I was going to stay there and become the senior minister, and that's my path. But vision had a different idea, and that visioning, and again, this is an internal knowing to start a new thought center, start my own center. And honestly, I didn't really want to do that, but I trusted that inner vision, and that's when it really started to grow. But the key here that I want to say is, when I caught the vision, then I decided exactly what it was supposed to look like. And that's what created some of the suffering, because darn it, the universe just wasn't doing it exactly the way I wanted. So it's really about returning to vision. And again, as I said, something so much more powerful happens. Like at that point, I would not have imagined that I would have become friends with Michael Beckwith, and that he would invite us to become the very first agape outside of Los Angeles. All that was much bigger than my mind could have created.
Uh, isn't it? You just said it's magic. This is magic, you guys. Magic. What you have been experiencing in your reality is much bigger than
Yeah.
anything that you could have created. When you let
Yes.
go and you stop being attached to the outcome, when you really allow creative force of God's source energy to flow, everything is possible. Everything is limitless. But when you put your own thought in there and you think it needs to look a certain way, then you are there, in fact, limiting everything that you could be. And if you're going to take your power back, it's time to start with that.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Well, and
release
the
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that's important to say too is, and this is all part of my third book that's coming out in December,
I can't wait.
it's also important to do some of what I call the clearing steps, right? Which is making peace with the past and overcoming our core false beliefs. Because if I'm creating only from my mind, I'm creating from the programs of the past. Now,
Yeah.
what I mean by that is if I'm unaware, right? So if I'm just, this is what I want for my life, I'm really kind of being dictated by the programs of my past. So for me, and this is just for me, if I'm carrying around the baggage of my past, like the unhealed wounds from a relationship, or if I'm holding on to even a hairbreadth distinction of, I can't believe they did that, or I can't believe I did that, I'm stuck, right? Now,
Yeah.
in my experience, I'm not saying I have to heal every single wound or perfectly forgive everything that's ever happened, but I can be aware that if I'm creating from my mind and I haven't made peace with the past, it's going to be in the present and the future. If I want something greater, I think it's important to start with those clearing steps and then overcoming some of those programs and ideas we have about our own mediocrity and limitation. Then we can step into that true visioning, which is, whoa, something within me knows something so much greater. Something within me is infinite. Something within me recognizes that there are infinite possibilities. We've been trained that if I get mine, you won't get yours. There's only so much to go around. It just isn't true. Nature is constantly creating. So, what if we could all be wildly successful? Part of
What if
that, too, and I know I'm on a roll here, but part of that too is I want to honor and celebrate every person's success. My good friend from high school, and he was my date to the prom. We took girls, but that's a whole other story. He is wildly successful, and I just saw a magazine article that was, his new design of his fifth home, and I'm so happy for him. I've had jealousy about him in the past, and that jealousy kept me small because I thought, if he's successful, I can't be. Well, that's an old program. It's just not true.
I love this. Okay. Because what you're talking about is stepping into what we call a state of compersion. This is something that I learned very early on from Scott Thomas, and I'll never forget it when I heard the word compersion, because what it
Mm,
means is to be in joy and elation of others' accomplishments and achievements,
yes.
and to celebrate, to celebrate. So what you've done in effect here is you went from the comparison to the celebration. And that
Yes.
is the most beautiful space to ever be in. I'm gonna share something really vulnerable right now. And I haven't actually voiced this at all. This is literally okay. So here's what happens in my head about this house.
Mm,
So where the houses happen magically and all of this, there was a time like 15 years ago. And 15, about 15, let's see, it doesn't matter. It was a while back. And this was during my demise of losing my mind, spending a year and a half drinking myself into oblivion, thinking that I could
mm,
kill myself with alcohol, literally. And I wasn't even a big drinker before this happened. Okay, this can happen to anybody. But I went from making a lot of money and being high on the hog and all of these things to So anyway, I think I'm going to pull my shit together, and I'm nowhere near pulling it together. Christopher's all of like 15 years old. So yeah, this was definitely a while back because he's 28 now, do the math. And I go and I rent a house, and he wants to move in with me. He'd been living with his dad, and he's like, I really want to move in with you. So I rent this house, and I'm thinking I'm going to pull my boots up or pull my bootstraps up and all of this. And I'm a disaster, mind you. So we rent this house. We have no furniture in it. I'm just continue to spiral downwards at the
Mm,
corner and going out and thinking I'm working during the day. It was absolutely horrible. And I put him through, that was a horrible experience for him. I can't even imagine what he had to go through. The mom that was not the screw up became the screw up. And oh my God,
mm,
right? And I'm not shaming myself, but the reason it's important is when you have things that come up in your life and they trigger you, this is about making peace with our past.
mm,
So what happened is here I've got a new house, and all of a sudden I start thinking about when thought I was going to start over and pull it up. The difference is today I already have it together. I'm not looking to get
mm,
it together. Today I'm working, I'm making money, things are okay. This was a different experience, but I absolutely was not. I was in this space of I've had myself go back to that experience, my brain taking me back there a couple of times because apparently I needed to make peace with the fact that I had really blown chunks back then. I had really
mm.
made a mess of some stuff, okay? And even though I've already made amends with Christopher, it still came up at me again. And this is really important. If you don't make amends with the past, and if you're not truthful about it, I don't need to beat myself up about it, but I obviously needed to really get honest with myself, and that brought in gratitude for me to be so grateful I'm no longer there.
Yeah.
I don't even know who that person was, TJ. I'll never forget looking in the mirror going, who are you? Like,
Mm.
where did Debbie go? That was back then, and today I'm not that person, but man. So I just had to share that because that I've had this just happen like literally in the last 2 days.
Wow. Wow. And of course, I have so many stories like that as well. Just
Yeah.
times that I forgot who I was. And that's true for all of us, right? That we're all infinite beings. We're all divine at our core. And if I believe in my programs, I suffer. And then when I believe I'm broken, I act broken. It's very simple, actually. And it was really complicated until all of a sudden it was simple. Right. And it was complicated because I believed it was really complicated. And I believed, I have this horrible past and how do I work through it? And, all this work that I did on it. And suddenly it was like, do I want to be free? Do I want to be free from this? And do I recognize that that's not who I am? I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my past. Yes, it happened, but there's something within me that is infinite, and there's something within me that is unharmed and unharmable. And when I really know who I am, I recognize I'm love, and then I can be love in the world, and I'm no longer in competition. Now, I also want to be clear. I'm not saying, I had a client that said to me once, do you always live knowing that you're pure love and in awe of the world and connected with everyone? And I said, yes, I do, but I don't always remember that. Right. Sometimes I start to remember the old stuff, and then I have to bring myself back.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yes, I am, but I don't always remember it.
Right.
All right, you guys, there you go. So if somebody says, because I get life's not unicorn, rainbows, farts, and everything. Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, but I don't always remember that it is. So if you guys, anybody ever forget? And what does that look like when we forget? I know what it looks like to me. I want to show you really quick. Look at this. Ellie, and I got to make a shout out to Ellie. I miss you. I love you. I am so glad to see you right now. I cannot even believe it. I miss you so much.
Hmm.
Ellie, she's in Palm Springs. I'm going to be at Huntington Beach. Girlfriend, you know what that means. I love you. But she loves the simplicity. Absolutely. And then Joe, it truly allows us to move from control to trust. And now he wants to go meditate. You're so
Yes, exactly. Because, meditation used to be a chore, and now it's just this incredibly rich experience. And at some point, I realized that meditation, because we hear it's a practice, right? And at one point, this voice came from somewhere within me that said, what are we practicing for? And then I realized we're practicing meditation so that we can be in that energy in the world. And I want to say something, Debbie, about what you were sharing, because I think when people say life isn't all unicorns and rainbows, I think what if I'm hearing this through my egoic lens or my personality, I might hear what we're saying is there's never going to be any more racial injustice in the world. There's never going to be any more disease in the world. We're never going to have pain. We're never going to have illness. We're never going to have someone die in our life. That's not what this is about. This is about the way we approach that. And I say this a lot lately, but we literally put in people's obituaries, she lost her battle with cancer. So we send someone to the next dimension saying that she was a loser, basically, and that somehow she was battling something. And that's just not the truth. So life isn't what's happening. It's how I frame and live with and approach what's happening. What if I can meet it all with curiosity and compassion? It doesn't mean that we don't want to see things change in the world. But here's the paradox. When I fight against the system and I try to force change in the world, there seems to be more conflict. When I stand in the truth that love is more powerful than hate, and when I truly stand in that and I recognize that what I bring to every situation makes a difference, that's when we start to see change. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people being angry or filled with rage or even being violent. That seems to be part of the human nature. But what I want to say is love and peace are a part of human nature. And I think they're the truer part, the more authentic part. We've been taught that the only way we can make change is through violence. But the truth is we can be love and we can be peace. And that's where lasting change happens. If you look at the great spiritual teachers that came that made a difference, they were standing for peace. They weren't fighting against.
Beautiful. And speaking of standing for peace, I'm part of peace20.org. If anybody wants any information about that, you can join to be a peace leader and a peace team leader for September by going to peace2030.earth. But that is right. That is what we're standing for. That is, and what do we need to do in order to achieve peace on earth?
It starts with me. We make peace with ourselves.
Peace
and
begins.
Then that spreads. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it right there in a nutshell. I want to talk for a minute to everybody about the fact that you can actually take some of TJ's courses, and I want to show you where you can do this, because this is really important for anybody who thinks that maybe thinks that they're wanting to expand on where that they're at right now, because I feel that we all need to continue education no matter what no matter what it might look like. But it's wholehearted.org, and I'm going to bring up the actual website. Tell them a little bit about both of your courses.
Yeah, so I have the distinct honor, and I'll just share that I'm so grateful for the collaboration to be a featured thought leader on wholehearted.org. Don't go to wholehearted.com or you're going to get pet food. So wholehearted.org. And I'm collaborating with them along with Dr. Gabor Mate, Brene Brown, Mark Lundholm, some really amazing people. And we've created these courses that are designed to assist you in really stepping into the fullness of your life. So right now I have a course that's conscious recovery for individuals, where I walk you through the entire conscious recovery process through video and interactive processes. And then if you're a clinician, so if you're a spiritual leader, a coach, a counselor, a therapist, and maybe you work with people that are either in recovery or maybe you're struggling with addiction, there is conscious recovery for individuals there as well. And you get CEs for that. They're extremely well priced for what you get. I had someone say, that course should be $1,000. And right now, the one for individuals is $99. So it's extremely accessible.
How
Debbie's
is like, that? That was me. I'm like, it's got to be $1,000. No, you guys, $99. Like, I'm going to promise you, if you don't go hop on this, seriously, you're going to miss the boat, because I'm probably going to be like stomping my feet at some point about him raising his prices.
Well, and this really, honestly, just to be transparent about this, we did bring the prices way down because of COVID-19 and people being in some fear about their finances. We feel like in some ways it's the perfect time because people are at home. A lot of people are spending a lot more time at home, and this is something that can come right into your office, bedroom, living room, wherever you're going to do the course. And these are temporary prices. They are going to go up in a couple of months, but right now we want to offer that to people.
Well, I think it's brilliant. And if you guys didn't catch, it's continuing education credits is what you get with this. So if you are in the addiction arena, this is a big deal for you. You know that. You know you got to get your CEUs. So, that's a really brilliant thing. And if you are, I know some people who are MFCCs and things like that that would love to get the continuing. In fact, I'm going to recommend that if you are already in the field and you're needing continuing education credits, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, $99 really, TJ.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, the course for professionals isn't quite that low, but it's still really well priced.
The one for professionals, yeah, it's not okay, but I know what conscious recovery can do for an individual. So I also can only imagine if you guys add this to your repertoire of things that you already do.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell y'all, catch me in the morning on Unify. I'll be with Women Rising, the conscious view. The conscious view, everybody. Isn't that great? And on 8/8, which TJ is going to be part of, and you guys will see this release tonight, we have the Rainbow Connection, infinite collaboration, and also the 3rd anniversary of Spirituality Gone Wild.
Wow.
It's been 3 years now. And we are collaborating with Unify on this, which is super exciting. And we will be supporting Peace2030.Earth. That is our organization that we will be sponsoring as well as helping out financially. So look for that to come on Spirituality Gone Wild later on. And you can purchase your tickets. It's $11 for sign members, and it's $22 for anybody else out there who wants to join. Literally the biggest networking, we're going to like speed date.
Mm-hmm.
We're speed dating with, all these networks out there doing great work. So we're all going to pull together and get to meet each other. But I'm going to teach people how to do some of the stuff that I do behind the scenes, which is everybody needs to know how to do this. That's just all there is to it. You said something that was so brilliant, that there is plenty for everyone. And if we don't get out of this mindset that there's not, then there's never going to be. You guys, there is enough for the whole world, everybody. So what we do is we pull together and we work as a team. And this is what Sign is all about, which is why I love that I'm part of the Sign network. And it's all together. It's all linked together. You guys, you should just go look at the map. We're all linked together. There's a visual map on Sign that could show you how every one of us are linked together. It's mind blowing. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I know them, and I know them, and I know them, and oh my God, we're all part of the same beautiful tapestry of life. And it's time for us to do this as a team. So on 8/8, everybody's going to get the opportunity for 5 hours to do some speed networking and really get to know each other out there, because we're all doing it. So let's just hang out and hang tight. And it's all to promote Peace2030.Earth. How's
Wonderful.
that? It's the cooler
Beautiful.
one. TJ is going to be speaking about conscious recovery. And you're going to hear special stuff from TJ that maybe you don't get to hear all the time, which is, I can't wait, because it's going to be fabulous.
Yay!
Seriously, did I mention we have music? We have so many fun things happening. We're not just doing networking. We're actually going to have some entertainment in the middle. And you guys are going to want to show up, because if you've ever attended one of my events, you know I'm all about the rock and roll, and you know I bring the musicians. So, yeah, I can't, I love my rockers. I can't help myself. And as I say this, the Monsters of Rock Cruise, who's been playing the coolest videos ever. They've been doing things with my buddy Keith St. John from Montrose, and they did this Stairway to Zeppelin. I mean, really. I'm like, well, my friend Jimmy Sakurai is playing he's playing with Jason Bonham, who's John Bonham's son from Led Zeppelin. So this is like killer stuff, man.
Nice.
Yeah, it just feeds my rocker soul. So, all right, guys, that is why we are Spirituality Gone Wild, and this is TJ Woodward. And go to wholehearted.org. You can also go over to TJ Woodward and look at this. We have our wonderful Steve Weber says, "I love this conversation. Thanks, TJ and Debbie."
Thank
And
you. Yes.
Steve, we love you. So, TJ, let me tell you a minute about Steve. You're going to just not even believe this. So, this guy hits me up. We're talking, and he looks like Forrest Gump. He talks like Forrest Gump.
Oh,
And
wow.
he has a show. It's called American Gumption, and he is going to be premiering right here on Spirituality Gone Wild, August 3rd, the American Gumption show with Steve Weber. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. You guys just have no idea what you are in store for. We have so many great shows coming. It's just unbelievable. And some more exciting news that's going to be announced on the day of our 3rd anniversary, which is 8/8 Lions Gate.
Yay.
It's crazy. It's crazy. TJ's just so much stuff. Like it's insane. It's insane. You know, I can't even get over it. And my happy little giraffe is happy. Isn't it? And he
Well,
does too.
as always, I loved our time together. Thank you. This is so wonderful. And thank you, everyone who's been watching.
I love you guys. Everybody know how to go get TJ's course. It's right there, wholehearted.org. Now go do that, okay? And I love you all very much. Okay. All right. Peace out, everybody. Have a wonderful Friday night. And I'll see you all in the morning on Unify. And you'll see Joe right here on Spirituality Gone Wild. Peace.